Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It's once again time for me to discuss long-running franchises. So way back in the day, I did my top 10 third movies to help with the discussion me and my friends were having that the third movie is always the worst, and I found 10 of the best third movies. And every year since, I've done your top 4th, top 5th, top 6th. So now it's once again time to revisit this situation and do the top 10 7th movies in a franchise. That's right, all these franchises have hit 7 movies. And surprisingly enough, in researching this video, I found 29 different franchises that have at least 7 movies in them. And that is insane. And surprisingly, there's some really good ones in this. It feels like once you hit the 7th movie, your franchise is on a really good momentum and it's time to move forward and you can experiment, do some weird stuff, and really make a movie for the fans of that franchise. And so I compiled a list of my favorite ones that hit this. So a couple rules on this top 10 list is I'm taking these as the movies come out, not where they take place in the franchise. So the prequel Star Wars movies count as the 4th, 5th, and 6th movies in that said franchise in this list, and not the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, if that makes any sense. So just as they came out, not where they take place within the franchise. Also, these are the best compared to other 7th movies, not how good they are in the franchise. So, they may not be the best in the franchise, but compared to other 7th movies, they might be pretty good. And of course, this is all opinion, so if you disagree with me, please let me know in those comments below. So let's get into it. Once again, my top 10 favorite 7th movies in a franchise.
Number 10, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1.
So, look, this one barely gets into this. I'm sorry, but this is my least favorite Harry Potter movie. But it's still a good movie, but compared to the other ones, I think this is kind of the weakest entry. It shows that when you split a single book into 2 movies, that the first movie ends up being all build up with no payoff, and the second is all payoff with no build up. And this one is that. It's all just building up to something. It's kind of them farting around in a tent, and it's building somewhere, but then the movie never gets there, and it's really a tease. But it is a very good movie. It's a very good build up to what's going to happen soon. So it is my least favorite Harry Potter movie, but does make a good movie.
I must be the one to kill Harry Potter.
7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I say, cause I'm 7-Eleven, stay up all night.
Number 9, Furious 7.
So if you're an avid viewer of my channel, you would know I've actually never seen any of the Fast and the Furious movies, but I felt it was unfair to keep them off this list just because I haven't seen it. Because the 7th seems to be a lot of people's favorite. It's got a really good review, it made a lot of money, so I thought I would, throw this out there. So far as I understand it, this is the one that has Jason Statham as the villain. It's Paul Walker's final movie in the franchise, and it really builds in a lot of continuity between a lot of the movies, especially bringing in the 3rd Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift more into the continuity of this entire franchise. So it really brings this all together, raises the stakes, and for a lot of people has some of the best action scenes. Now this is the one where the car drives out from one building, giant skyscraper, and crashes in the window of another giant skyscraper. If you're not sure which one's which, that's the crazy stunt in this movie. And it looks like a lot of fun, and someday I do gotta visit these movies.
Like it or not, you and your friends are a part of it now.
I don't have friends, I got family.
7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I say, cause I'm 7-Eleven, stay up all night.
Number 8, Diamonds of Forever.
So the oldest movie on this list, and of course the longest running franchise of all time, Bond. Now, a lot of people give this one a lot of crap for being too campy and too goofy, but I still think it's kind of charmingly quaint. We have Sean Connery once again as Bond, interrupting a diamond smuggling ring, where it turns out the diamonds are being smuggled by Blofeld to make a giant death space laser. That's kind of awesome. It does have some goofy moments, but I think it's still a fun movie, and if you're willing to buy into the camp of this franchise, you know, you'll enjoy it. It's the first Bond movie of the 70s, so it's trying to find a different tone, and I think it's kind of a good in-between of where Bond will go and where he started from, so I enjoy it.
To me, I've got friends in this town.
Outrageous, fun-making thrills.
I didn't know there was a pool down there.
7-Eleven, stay up all night. 24 hours a day. I said, cause I'm 7-Eleven, stay up all night.
Number 7, Cult of Chucky.
So the Cult of Chucky is a bit of a cult classic. If you didn't write off the Child's Play franchise already, then the people that saw this really enjoyed it. This one, like I mentioned earlier in this video, is for the fans. This is the 7th movie that is for the fans. Now this was straight to video, so it definitely got kind of washed under, but if you got a chance to see it, it is fantastic. It's a direct sequel to The Curse of Chucky, but also is a combination of the entire Child's Play franchise. It's got survivors from all the previous movies in an insane asylum, all dealing with the fact that they were attacked by a killer doll. And Chucky comes in and does his thing, and this is very creepy and dark, and it's honestly one of my favorite Child's Play movies, and it really was awesome. This one was great, and that's why it really confused me that they rebooted Child's Play 1 year later after this, because the franchise was still on strong footing and the fans really responded to this movie, so it's kind of weird that they would reboot it a year later with a much more disappointing movie, but you know, we won't get into that yet. But for this one, Cult of Chucky is fantastic. It is worth checking out.
Whoa. Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
7-Eleven, stay up all night. 24 hours a day. I said, cause I'm 7-Eleven, stay up all night. 7 whole days a week. I said, cause I'm 7-Eleven.
Number 6, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Is it a prequel? Is it a reboot? Where does this fit? Well, if you just count all the Planet of the Apes movies, this is the 7th one, and it's a very interesting one because this is a great movie. It's the only Planet of the Apes movie to show what actually happened to give us Planet of the Apes. All the others dealt with the planet as the Planet of the Apes. So in a sense, it is a prequel, and maybe if this franchise keeps going in the way it is, it will tie into the original, or maybe they'll have their own version of the original eventually. Who knows? We're still like 1 or 2 movies short of seeing how that ties all together if they do continue this. But it is interesting to see where this started, and people put a lot of effort into this. It wasn't just a cheap cash-in on Planet of the Apes. They really put a lot of work into this. It has some of Andy Serkis's best mocap work going for it, and it really makes this ape apocalypse seem possible, seem reasonable, and makes it really interesting, and launched a whole new franchise of really good movies after this. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes is really fantastic.
24 hours a day. I said, cause I'm 7-Eleven, stay up all night. 7 whole days a week. I said, cause I'm 7-Eleven.
Number 5, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
So if you saw my worst to best Nightmare on Elm Street list, you'll know I absolutely love Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's a dark, creepy take on Freddy, and it's very meta with that it's actually taking place in the real world, but people believe in Freddy so much that he's becoming real. And I love the makeup in this one, and I love the effects, and it's a really great addition to this franchise and a really good send up to the initial franchise. Of course, we get one more Robert Englund Freddy movie with Freddy vs. Jason, and then it would get rebooted a few years later, but for what it was at the time, it was a great send-off to Freddy and really overwrote what Freddy's Dead did, which was a really terrible sequel. So this one took that and just made it good and actually solidified this franchise as a one solid, awesome franchise.
You're gonna have to make a choice.
whether or not you're willing to play Nancy one last time.
7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I said, go some 7-Eleven, stay up all
Number
night.
4,
7 whole days a week. I
Shazam.
said, go some 7-Eleven, stay up all night. And I can get a discount. Hey, now.
All right, let's see the Snyder cult come out and yell at me about this one, but this is my absolute favorite DCEU movie. It's fun, it's energetic, it looks awesome, the villain is great, the acting is great, the action is great, it's got a lot of heart, it's got a lot of fun. I just really love Shazam. It actually made me believe in this franchise once again, because I really didn't care for Batman v Superman. Of course, no one liked Justice League, so it was on this like weird downward turn where like the best was Wonder Woman, who was fine, and Aquaman was, I guess, alright. So you're kind of like, well, what is this franchise? And then Shazam comes out, kicks it in the balls, and I think really sends it on a really interesting level. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Shazam. Are they going to integrate him with the Justice League? Are they just going to redo the Justice League altogether? It made me actually interested in this universe once again. And it's been a while since I've ever really been like, yeah, what is going to happen? Oh, that's cool. What's going to go with this? How are they going to tie this in? And it made it really fun and interesting. And I just really love Shazam.
Hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I said, go some 7-Eleven, stay up all night. 7 whole
Number
days a week. I
3,
said, go
The
some 7-Eleven,
Muppets.
stay up all night. And I can get a discount. Hey, now.
So I didn't really know what to expect going into this reboot of the entire Muppets franchise. At the time, I wouldn't say I was a Muppets fan. I didn't hate them, but I didn't really use much brain power to even think about them. So I went and saw this kind of just on a whim, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. It's so full of heart, so brings back the Muppets that you enjoyed, the Muppets that you remember. It was all nostalgia, but I think it was also new enough that it can bring in new people to love the Muppets, and it really launched the Muppets once again into popular culture. I think they were slightly forgotten, kind of thought of like you'd watch Muppets Christmas Carol on Christmas, but you really wouldn't do a lot. There wasn't an active show. And then they came out with this, and it was awesome. Man, we got a show out of it. We got more movies out of it. It really brought the Muppets back, and I really enjoyed it.
Maybe you don't need the whole world to love you, you know? Maybe you just need one person.
Oh, Kenny. 7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I said, go some 7-Eleven, stay up all night, 7 whole days a week. I said, go
Number
some
2,
7-Eleven, stay up all
X-Men,
night.
Days of Future Past.
So my favorite X-Men team movie is First Class. Not a solo movie, but just as a team was First Class. And I was waiting for a great follow-up to that. Of course, before we got this, we got the Wolverine, which is fine. I didn't really jump all crazy for it, but it was fine. So I was kind of curious what they're gonna do. And they hit us right in the face with Days of Future Past, tying in First Class to the original franchise and really bringing this universe together and making a new platform where they can make some new awesome movies. Spoilers, they really didn't take that opportunity and run with it, but for the time, this was fantastic. You love seeing James McAvoy and Sir Patrick Stewart interacting together. That was fantastic. Seeing the young, seeing the old. If you get the Rogue cut, you get some more awesome scenes, not just tying in Rogue, but some other things going on, and it was just great. I really enjoy this movie, and it was built off a great idea by Matthew Vaughn. Unfortunately, Fox kind of jumped the gun on this because Matthew Vaughn wanted a movie in between this and First Class to really tie it more together, and I think that would have been more interesting and it would have been a stronger movie for it. But for what we got, this is actually really fantastic, and it's really high up there on my X-Men list.
Please. We need you to hope again.
7-Eleven, stay up all night, 24 hours a day. I said, go some 7-Eleven, stay up all night, 7 whole days a week.
Number 1, Creed.
So yeah, I love the Rocky movies, and I love where they went with this with Creed. This movie is amazing. Ryan Coogler took over this franchise, who's known for doing Black Panther. Michael B. Jordan is amazing as Adonis Creed, and Sylvester Stallone still has it as Rocky, and it's this amazing story of making your own path, getting out of your father's shadow, and it's also a heartwarming story of two people learning to become friends in adversity, and it is so good. The only thing that brings this movie down from any other Rocky movies is the villain boxer is kind of stock, he's kind of lame, there's not a lot to him, but it's really not his story, and it's not about beating another boxer. This is about Adonis Creed cutting his own legacy, make himself believe in himself. And it was so good. I freaking love this movie. It gets me every time. I tear up at the end. It is so good, and it's such an amazing franchise to see go this long, from the 70s all the way up until this movie in the 2000s, and still be this solid, this good, and still have this much heart. It is amazing to see. I can't wait to see what they do with it. I loved Creed 2. There's talks of another Rocky movie and another Creed movie. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with this and where this is gonna go, but I am so enjoying it, and that's why this is my number 1 top 7th movie.
A great fighter once said, "It ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward."
So those are my favorite 7th movies in a franchise. What did you think? Did I leave any off this list? Is there anything that should have been higher? Let me know what you think in those comments below. This really made me interested in seeing what the next step is and what the top 8th movie is gonna be. So if you're curious where I'm gonna go with that, hit that subscribe button so you're notified when I come out with that video. I got many more videos coming out, so thank you for watching, thank you for joining, and I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.